Well, welcome, and thank you for coming here today. Let me introduce myself. My name is Eric Nakano. I also answer to Hey You, and I'm the staff attorney at the Civil Self-Help Center at the library. And before we begin, I just need to get a few preliminary things out of the way. Today is a non-MCLE class, so if you're expecting MCLE credits, sorry to disappoint you. Those are much more expensive. And it's also sort of an introductory level class, so I may not get to all the questions that you might have, but I'm more than happy to stick around afterward and answer any questions that people might have. So I'm going to assume that each and every one of you have gotten some sort of a judgment, so congratulations. Yay! Well, unfortunately, you've probably figured out by now that was possibly the easy part. So now what do? Well, any question that's worth asking, is always worth looking at through the lens of 80s teen movies. So I always like to think about collecting in frames of this John Cusack classic.
Johnny.
4 weeks. 20 papers, that's $2 plus tip.
Gee, Johnny, I don't have a dime. Sorry.
Didn't ask for a dime. $2.
Well, it's funny. See, my mom had to leave early to take my brother to school and my dad to work because...
$2. Cash.
See, the problem here is that my little brother this morning got his arm caught in the microwave and my grandmother dropped acid and she freaked out and hijacked a school bus full of penguins. So it's kind of a family crisis, so come back later. Great.
You may be somewhat familiar with that. Anyway, that was Better Off Dead I think the secret hero of this movie is that paper boy, because he's legitimately owed his $2. He delivered the papers, and every single time in that movie that there's a quiet moment where John Cusack's character just sits there, suddenly the newspaper boy shows up demanding his $2. And it's played for comedy, but in reality, I kind of feel sorry for him because by the end of the movie, despite all of his efforts, he never gets his $2. And part of it is he doesn't have a judgment, so he doesn't have all the tools to collect. But there is a possibility that despite your best efforts, you still might not get your $2, but I'm hoping that I'll show you a few things that will help you possibly get it. So, first step in any type of collection is locating your debtor. Now, since you have a judgment against this person, assuming that you are within a fairly short amount of time of getting that judgment, you probably have a pretty good idea of where this person was. Where were they during the lawsuit? If you got a judgment by default, well, at least you know where they were served. If you got a judgment at trial or by settlement, you should have some good contact information for them. And if you're doing that and you've got this information, you're ahead of the game, because knowing where to start your collection activities is really, your first step. But assume that you don't know. Do you know anybody they know? Do you know any of their friends or family? Now, you have to be really careful in this step. Under the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act, you don't get to call everybody up and tell the person they're dead, person's friends, families, they're a deadbeat. But you are able to contact the person just to try to locate them. Hi, I'm looking for Doug. I'm looking for Doug Detter. I know that you used to live next door to him. Do you happen to know where he moved, or did he leave a forwarding address? These sorts of things. And once you locate the person, you leave all these other folks alone. But if you know their friends or families, or if you have mutual friends, especially ones that don't like them anymore, these are really, really good ways to find out where this person is. There used to be, I used to subscribe to a locator service that, as part of the report they would give you, would list out all the person's potential neighbors. So it was always kind of a good way that if I didn't know where they were anymore, at least I used to know who lived next door to them. And it was a good place to start. And just a nice, polite inquiry. May not get you anywhere, but you never know. Dumb question. Have you looked them up? You know, I know it's sort of a weird thing, but some people still have listed phone numbers and addresses. And, you know, they might be in the yellow pages, or if you search them on any of the searches online, Google, white pages, anything like that. The other thing is, in this area of social media, you can oftentimes get a fairly good idea of where somebody is just through public profile information. And of course, have you considered hiring a professional? And if I'm asking you this question and you are a professional, I'm really sorry. But professionals will oftentimes have access to subscription databases, people finders, things like that that are useful for trying to locate people. And it's sometimes worth a shot, because these services as an individual might be cost prohibitive, but somebody who does this for a living may have a better shot. Plus, depending on who you're looking at and who you're hiring, they may have a few other avenues to go. Now, the downside between all of this is if your person is living completely, completely off the grid, essentially, that they're, that they don't have anything, that they don't have any sort of public account, that if you search them online, they don't show up anywhere. Well, you're probably going to have a difficult time locating them. On a positive note, though, you also would probably not be losing too much, because they probably don't have anything to collect against. But locating them is always a good thing. And the Sacramento Law Library has at www.saclaw.org/pages/finding-people.aspx, they have a guide that contains a lot of different resources and links to try to find people online, especially if they're a little bit difficult.